No, I'm good.
Welcome, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call the March 11th, 2025 Elkhart Community Schools Public Work Session to order. The floor. Ms. Lozano, the floor is yours. Who's the first?
Mrs. On, this is Mrs. On. Yep.
Good evening. All right. Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, and Dr. Huff, who just exited. I'm delighted to be here tonight to share with you an update as far as the work that has been done in the Human Resources Department. Before we begin, I do want to take a moment to introduce the team members. While not with me, I do have some information here regarding who they are and the positions that they hold. Each one of them is a dedicated and committed to the excellence of Elkhart, so I do want to make sure that I take a time to recognize them. And so the department is comprised of 7 team members, each one of them with responsibilities for key and essential functions, which have a direct impact on the district as a whole. And that, in a nutshell, is a department. I would like to begin to provide just an overview of some of the key responsibilities and efforts in recruitment, hiring, and retention. The team is responsible for managing job postings, application processing, ensuring a smooth and fair hiring process. The department also processes applications for certified support staff, substitute teachers, lay coaches, volunteers, so the list is quite extensive. In addition, the department coordinates also student-teacher placements, employee engagement initiatives, while we also will be touching on those in a little bit further on in the presentation. But that also includes retention and recognition programs. Additionally, we support employee through benefit administration, such as FMLA, which is Family Medical Leave Act, also leave request, workplace accommodations, the Employee Assistance Program, which offers vital services to our staff. One of the vital roles that the department plays is navigating the fine balance between ensuring that we are providing board policy compliance while at the same time providing support to the employees. And to help provide some context, when referring to the various employee groups, the slide here provides a breakdown of the different categories. And what you have here, these numbers are indicative of the current school year. As far as certified staff, and those who fall in this category are your teachers, as well as counselors, social workers, therapists. So in essence, it would be anyone with a position that requires a license from the Department of Education. It would be any of your certificated employees. When we are looking at classified or support staff, these individuals, while the list is not all-inclusive, certainly it's individuals that work behind the scenes to ensure that we're providing support to the students as well. And then when we look at administrators, looking at that number, it does encompass our building principals as well as district leadership. And when it looks at substitute teachers, you can see that we have a healthy pool of substitute teachers. We certainly utilize these resources to ensure that we supplement some of the instructional pieces that we provide to students. And with substitute teachers, that includes both retired teachers as well as regular substitute teachers, all of whom have a desire to provide support to students in learning. And so when we look at the makeup just for the school year, we're looking at approximately over 2,000 employees that we provide support for. Now, this slide here talks about primarily the comparison between student enrollment and our teachers, our FTEs. When looking at this information, we went back as far as 2019 just to provide some context and also to show some of the trends that we have been experiencing. As you look at the trends from 2019 in comparison to 2024-25, you notice that our student enrollment, or ADM, which is the light blue bar, it's slowly declining as the year progresses, while the bottom graph, which is the darker blue, that represents the number of teaching staff that we have in the district. And that number, you'll notice the line that has been pretty steadily. While there has been a slight decrease in the last year or two, for the most part, that has been pretty steady. And so while you're looking at student enrollment that's declining, our staffing has been pretty consistent. And then to the side, you'll also see, just to provide some context and provide some numbers, it lists the student enrollment as well as the number of staff that we have registered for each particular year. Now, this data also represents, or we can make some observations based on that we also need to look at staffing. While one can say that it also shows that we've been able to consistently retain staff, which is a positive, at the same time, it also signifies that we want to make sure that we are looking at our staffing to ensure that we're adequately staffed in comparison to our student enrollment numbers. So with that said, it just highlights the need to continuously reassess the staffing needs throughout the district, not just in certified teaching, but all teaching positions. In this particular case, we're just comparing it to teachers. When we're looking at hiring trends, again, we're looking at teachers, and this graph here just shows the trends that we have been noticing throughout the last 5 years. Again, this now drills down in comparison to the teacher staff that we had at each school year, and then the attrition, and as well as those numbers that we have had to rehire every year as teachers retire or resign. In this particular chart, you'll notice that, again, with staffing year after year, we have continued to hire staff, while the percentage of staff that we've been hiring has been slowly declining as we have been assessing needs. It still has been fairly consistent. I do want to point out the significant change in 2023-24 school year, just to provide some context as to why that number is slightly higher than the previous year and the current year. That year, we did have to provide some support when it came to hiring literacy cadre coaches to provide those instructional supports at the elementary schools. I also want to make mention that we were awarded an APR grant, which is Attract, Prepare, and Retain. And that grant allowed the district to provide opportunities for individuals that wanted to go into the education field. So through that, we were able to increase the staffing to help fill some of those positions that have been vacated. Now, as we are looking at also the staffing, I wanted to make a note that we're also looking at some of those hard-to-fill positions, and it is fairly known that some of those hard-to-fill positions are primarily secondary level, which is math and science, particularly in content. We also started noticing an increase in E&L teachers as well. So I mentioned reassessing and looking at our staffing needs, and some of the measures that we use currently have in place to assess appropriate staffing are some of the followings. I do want to make a note that when a position vacates, we do not automatically post that position. We do go through a process in which the position is evaluated, and then after it is determined through instructional leadership and finally approved by the superintendent, then that is when we move forward with posting that position. But before we get to that point, there are some considerations that are reviewed when making that determination. And some of those include looking at our student enrollment, the area of need for that particular position. Is it considered a hard-to-fill position? And then once we assess those, we also look at, do we currently have staff within our realms that we are able to tap into that could be resources rather than hiring from the outside? We can use our internal resources. And certainly, last but not least, and one of the most important ones as well, is looking at our finances. Do we have the financial resources, or is there funding available to be able to support that position? And these are some of the measures that we have been actively looking at, particularly this school year, when we're looking at having to replace a position or to refill or add a position. I mentioned a little while ago some of the challenges, but just to reiterate, some of the challenges that we have been consistently experiencing the last couple of years has been just a decrease in number of students that are going into the education field. As far as people that are going into the student teacher placements, that has also declined. But also in addition to that the competition, we are also competing with the private sector. We are a business just like anyone else. The services that we provide is education to the students, but we are competing with our local neighbors. We're also looking at funding. Funding has also become a challenge when it comes to what we have available to provide, as well as changes in education. If you look at just the landscape that has changed dramatically in the last several years, that has also had an impact in the opportunities that are available. I want to again reiterate our areas that need. We have been looking at areas of math and science. And when we talk about what we are currently doing for strategies, some of those, like I mentioned, we're filling them with non-traditional candidates that are going into education. We're also being able to provide some support. But through that, some of the positions that we're filling are looking at individuals that require some additional training that currently we have within our staffing needs. About 10% of the staff that we have on emergency licenses, and that's through they're going through a transition to teaching program to help provide that license, or they are in the process of taking an assessment to be able to get that license. And so that also augments the need for those areas that are hard to fill, like math and science. So in order to meet that current need, as we are cognitive of whether we need to do more to attract those, currently we are utilizing resources such as our current staff that has taken on additional instructional responsibilities. We also use our resources with our substitute teachers. Our substitute teacher pool is quite healthy, in which we also have a vast volume of retired teachers, certainly individuals that come to the district with educational experience who help provide some of those supports through long-term assignments. And those are some of the ways that we're currently addressing some of those needs. In regards to strategies to go along that, we also want to make sure that we have systems in place to support, train, and retain our educators. And we have a mentor-mentee program in which the program provides new educators, pair them up with a seasoned educator to help guide and provide support in the classrooms. We also provide professional development. The district is also very rich in the type of professional development that we offer and the different opportunities. With those professional developments, we're able to offer staff ability to refine their skills and focus on classroom management, instructional strategies, and content-specific learning. The district also provides the opportunity for licensing pathways. We have had the opportunity to provide for EL, the English learners, as well as high ability endorsements. And what this does, it provides our current staff the opportunity to obtain additional qualifications that then they're able to provide additional support in the classroom, particularly in those areas. Also, as I mentioned, our substitute teachers, they are a great benefit to the district, and we certainly utilize the services. Our student teachers, we do host student teachers from various universities here locally, and that has also become a pipeline. as well as we currently have a cohort of individuals that are through the APR grant. That grant ended in September, so this is the last cohort that we have through that APR grant to provide licensing. Now, additionally, we've enhanced the benefits that we offer, such as paid maternity leave, including license expense reimbursement, increased contributions to VIBA, and all those in effort to make the district more competitive and attractive to retaining top talent. I mentioned our student teachers. This slide here shows just some trends that we have been observing with our student teacher placements. And the trends also align with what we've been seeing in regards to individuals going into the education profession. If we compare to 2021 and 2022, when we had 19 student teacher placements, to what we currently have for 2025, you can see that that has decreased. Now, we have been able to, through the student teacher placements, hire teachers once their placement is complete to fill those vacant positions. And the universities that we partner with primarily are listed on the right-hand side. We work very closely with the local universities, IUSB, Bethel, Goshen. And in speaking with one of our partners in regards to just the volume of student teachers, we were not seeing many placements in the fall. And one of the university partners mentioned that because their enrollment is low and they want to maintain good working partnerships with the different school districts, they have had to implement that every other year as far as where student teacher placements are made. So, for instance, with IUSB right now, Elkhart happens to be the recipient of the student teacher placements on odd years. And that is just a testament to how competitive it is with student teacher placements. In addition, the student teachers have the opportunity to decide where they would like to go. So this is also another example of just the landscape they were in when we're looking at individuals going into education. When it comes to partners in career fairs, obviously requirement requires strong partnerships. Also, we want to make sure that we continue to strengthen those partnerships. So while we currently attend career fairs, we also hold tabling events in which we make ourselves available and present for students to know about Elkhart. We also utilize job boards. Right now, we are working closely with Nimble to expand the manner in which we currently utilize Nimble so that we're able to have broader access to applicants, as well as continue to post on LinkedIn, Indeed, the various job boards. This year, we have made very strategic efforts to also highly post with Handshake because that is a direct partnership that sends out that information to the local universities, particularly students that are going into education. And certainly making our information available at universities so they may include that information on their career boards. As we look at the recruiting efforts, while this has been helpful, most of the recruiting efforts and hiring really comes from word of mouth and individuals that are familiar with the district and also peer encouragement. And like I mentioned, student teacher placements, that has become a pipeline for the district. I do want to go back slightly just to mention some of the efforts that are currently being reviewed in the need of math and science. As we look at initiatives and tools to be able to attract and retain, especially in those content areas as math and science, you'll notice that in your board packet tonight, there will be a recommendation from the administration for a resolution to be able to provide or authorize supplemental payment, particularly to teachers in those content areas. Not only will that help attract, but also retain our current staff. When we speak with our neighboring districts, they too experience the same challenges that we are when it comes to attracting those particular talents, and they have also implemented some of these initiatives as well, which includes a supplemental pay. Now, some of the areas of focus as we look ahead as to what the department's currently working on priorities. With the sixth grade transition to the middle school, just as an update, we continue to assess staffing needs. The initial placements have been made. Communication did go out to staff as well as principals last week, announcing their placement. We continue to have discussions with staffing needs in other areas that we will be working shortly to staff such as EL and special education, now that the general education staff has been made. In addition to that, to help with the transition, there will be a meeting that's scheduled for March 13th from 2:15 to 2:45, in which the middle school teachers, the teachers who have been placed in middle schools will have the opportunity to visit their respective buildings, meet with the principals, meet their colleagues, and then just have an opportunity to have some questions answered. So we'll have that available to them to help with that. Also, in regards to summer school, we are in the planning stages for summer school. We're working closely with instructional leadership to ensure that we're providing the necessary staffing support to ensure that we provide meaningful learning experience for students over the summer. As far as another project, we're working continuously every time we look at assessing and streamlining processes. One of our efforts this week is we will be working with a vendor that we utilize for the staff, for the employee management system, to help us and help retrain and focus on how to better utilize the system to be able to maximize it. And this will allow us optimization of the data that we're able to capture within the system to be able to extract information as we continue to look at staffing needs. Now, when it comes to staff recognition, the district does believe firmly in acknowledging and recognizing dedicated staff. So there are a couple of events that are coming up. We will be honoring distinguished support staff, retirees, and the Teacher of the Year, and those dates will be coming soon. We have a couple of events in April and then in May, and those dates will soon be coming. But aside from those, I do want to end with showing just a couple of pictures of the efforts that we have been really strategically focusing on to ensure that we're providing the support and recognition to all of our hardworking staff. The pictures that we have here in front of you are just some of the recognition that we started with throughout the school year. And then as we plan and look towards the end of the school year again with our Teacher of the Year events and recognitions. So with that, in closing, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to present some information. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to help in any way. Okay, thank you.
Good job. All right, that concludes. No,
Brandon, are you presenting?
No, I thought there was more than one. Welcome.
Hey, welcome. Good evening, school board members. Dr. Hoff, do you guys mind if I give you something real quick before I start?
Like people come to the podium, sir.
Get a smile.
So, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the Career Center. As many of you board members have been here for a while, I've wore this out, and I have my opportunity. I say I have 35 minutes. We're going to take all 35 of those. So let me just go ahead and start and give kind of a brief overview. But I think it's important that we have some of those things in there for Mr. Ivory. As we got to get him caught up with some of the things that we do. So we'll go through the following topics up here, and we'll go ahead and start with that overview. This is our 53rd year of serving students at the Elkhart Area Career Center. If you did not know that, the Elkhart Area Career Center was founded by leadership of the CTS organization back in the late 1960s for students that were not college bound. But things have changed, and we've been fortunate and nimble enough to continue to adjust programming to the needs that we have not only in our community, but our state and beyond. Enrollment this past year, not that I pay attention to it, was 1348 when we started the year on count day. I have been at the Career Center now for 12 years in a leadership capacity for 7 of those. When I started at the Career Center, that enrollment usually bounced around between about 1,000 and 1,100. We're on 5 consecutive years of seeing that growth. And we better see it again this upcoming year and years that come after. Applications wise, a combination between first and second year applications. The last 4 years, we've had over 1,750 students applying for programming. You're doing math there. You're saying, okay, why are we only serving 1,300 students? I always like to make sure that folks get all those pieces. First and foremost, every student that applies for the Elkhart Area Career Center is maybe not academically prepared or have the necessary attendance for their school to invest that tuition for them to be at the Career Center. So there's a handful of students each and every year where it may not be the best investment for that student to be there. The other factor that I like to bring up is that we have 2 programs that have a hard cap on them as far as in how they serve, and they are 2 extremely popular programs. Cosmetology, we can only cap at 44 students in the first year program. We probably get 110 applicants for cosmetology each and every year. So we're not going to be able to serve all of those. The other, unfortunately, is welding, because it's huge to our community. It's a huge community need, but due to safety, we put 48 students total in there. So those are a couple of the areas that we look at on where we're missing the mark. Others are our capacity. And obviously with the investment by the school district and the 2 building projects, we're working on addressing those capacity in several of our programs. If you don't know, it's 10 school districts that feed into us. Pretty much everything in Elkhart County minus Fairfield, although we do get random amount of Fairfield students on an annual basis because they cannot access programming in their co-op. The private schools, we serve 4 private schools: Bethany Christian, Elkhart Christian, Mishawaka Marian, Granger Christian. And the homeschool population is something that we've seen a consistent uptick in. We're at this point now about 30 to 40 homeschool students access our Career Center. And I want everybody to understand that that's not how it looks across the state. There are some CTE districts that will not serve homeschool students for various reasons. I'm not going to get into that. But us at the Elkhart Area Career Center, we're here for our entire community. And so if we have students that are qualified and can be beneficial contributors to our community, we should be providing that opportunity. And so I'm very proud that we have that opportunity for the homeschool students to access our programming. We do this through 30 career pathways. 29 of those are ones that are within house. We have our one partner, and that is the Barber Academy downtown, which we're in our 2nd year in that partnership. New program that started last year was our pre-law program, an outstanding program. We really knocked it out of the park with our instructor and the students and the engagement that we see there. Feather in our hat, we are the only pre-law program in the state of Indiana. When we got ready to launch this program, we had been looking. I kind of monitor those things. 5 of us had applied for it. We get it probably late September, and my instructor comes to me, "Mr. Huff, will get this?" And I said, "Yes, RJ." And he goes, I would like to collaborate with somebody. And I said, "Perfect. I'll reach out to the CT directors and find out who's doing this." We're walking alongside them. One after another, down they went. Either they couldn't staff it or they couldn't get the student interest. So we are the trailblazer in that space. And that's something that I think we are more than comfortable doing. And it'd be exciting to see how that program builds out. Next year, the only program that we'll have coming on board is software development. It is something that we've been eyeing at the Career Center for probably at least 3 or 4 years on an additional IT offering. Currently, we only have our computer networking, given the growth in the IT fields, and then some of the other recent happenings in our community with partners coming in that would value software development. We're looking forward to having that launch next year also. One of our bragging points that I like to put up there is we were the first endorsed early college career center in the state of Indiana. What that means is that our focus on post-secondary outcomes is recognized by CEL, the Center for Educational Leadership and Learning out of University of Indianapolis. What that does is in a typical high school setting, it looks at how those early college programs are are established, what students they serve, how they support those cohorts. At a career center like us, it's something that is open to all students. And depending on your program, what your outcomes look like, and we'll get to those here in just a few minutes. But that is something we're very proud of and something that we continue to work very hard to maintain that credentialing. Any questions on that first slide? Perfect. Uh-oh, Jake. Just a quick breakdown on the table here, in case you're curious to figure out where our kids are coming from. You can see the trends over the last 5 years, kind of the ebbs and flows. I think probably about halfway down that, I think we're all interested in looking at our Elkhart high school population. Things that I continue to look at as career and technical education has become more and more an avenue for a number of students across the state. Obviously, it is pushed by being able to check that box for graduation, but I also think there's a lot to be said about the cost of post-secondary education. I also think there's a lot to be said just about career exploration and families seeing that there are a lot of other options that are great options for a career that don't require the 4-year degree. As those things occur, I try to keep an eye as best I can on the high schools that we serve in the pathways that they offer. The reality is, to serve the volume of students in our community, beyond the Career Center, all high schools are going to have to offer internal pathways. That's just a reality, right? But being mindful of the pathways that are being offered is something that I try to pay close attention to, because in certain areas when we're duplicating, duplication isn't necessarily meaning that the quality outcomes are the same as that we may get in other spaces. And so as our partners continue to work towards career and technical education, trying to have very supportive conversations with superintendents and principals at the high school level, because we always want to be able to support them as they build out, but also share caution where caution needs to be shared. Some of our partnering schools up there, I think, are moving pretty aggressively. And time will tell on whether they're able to sustain those efforts. But we obviously have to stay extremely mindful when we see drastic fluctuations in those enrollment numbers. And those are kind of things that I look for, because those could be warning signs, right? So just wanted to share those numbers with you. So how do we factor in graduation, and how do we determine what a quality program is at the Elkhart Area Career Center? I think I've talked about it before, and I will revisit again. In our current diploma, and not necessarily talking about what was just released here prior to the new year, there are 3 boxes to check for graduation. Everybody in this room, when you graduated, had to check box number 1, which was your credits earned, right? When the new diploma requirements were launched in 2018, became available in 2019, we learned of the next 2 boxes. The second box was that employability box, which a student had to either be able to show that they had participated in service-based learning, project-based learning, or work-based learning. Since 2019, the Career Center has been a consistent checker of that second box because of our strong focus on project-based learning. It is something that all of our programs are trained in. We hold annual training in those areas. When teachers are onboarded, it's an expectation. We have an internal team that does that work. All of our programs know that is the expectation. And so that is one that we always like to put out there. The second box that we check, or have the opportunity to check, is box 3. Box 3 is what is in place of what used to be standardized testing. Believe it or not, and this may shock some of you in this room, a standardized test may not be the best measure of somebody's preparation for college and career success. Shocking. And so they came up with a number of options that a student could fulfill to check that box 3. That's where we come into space. The first and most common one is concentrator status. A concentrator in career and technical education is a student that finishes 1 complete year at the Elkhart Area Career Center, maintains a C average, not dropping below a C for both of those semesters. So you can't have a failing grade in one of those semesters and still get your concentrator status. This is something that we are laser focused on. Our support team, as far as in our at-risk team, tracks students' attendance and grades, meet bi-weekly, and then they have kind of their marching orders on where they're going to need to provide those supports. A lot of communication happens not only with that instructor, the student, the family, the partnering school, and wrap around as many services as possible. Many of our schools are depending on us to be able to reach that concentrator status. And so it's something that we take very, very seriously. What also is not listed up there, if a student were to not reach concentrator status, let's say that a student moves in the middle of second semester, they're not able to finish the semester. That student could still be given an industry certification that is recognized by the state to check the box. Or that student, if they are working dual credits, if they had earned 9 dual credits prior to the departure, we could still check that box. So we have safety nets that are in place for our students. That leads directly to what are the things we measure. The things that we measure are the same things that the state and federal government is measuring our programs. Career and technical education has 10 indicators that we are measured upon. 4 of those we have no control over whatsoever, and that would be SAT English performance, SAT math performance, 9th grade biology, and graduation rates at high schools. I take it back. We have a little bit of influence there. But what we have a lot of influence is the next 3 pieces there. Looking at that dual credit attainment, and more specifically, the dual credit attainment where students are earning more than 9. As you can see, we have quite a few of our programs that do very well in those areas. We continue to look at that piece as we are trying to prepare students to have credentials to walk out the door. The state recognized industry certifications are somewhat of a moving target. There has been a certification list that's been in place at the state level for the last 2 years. It will be changing. It will be getting updated. We've been told this for at least the last year. We've been told that we'll see this list coming out hopefully by the end of April. It's important that we keep an eye on that because this is informed by employers across our state on what are those certifications that actually have value when a student walks out the door. And then you can see we offer that in about 70% of our programs. And then the work-based learning. I'm a firm believer in quality work-based learning opportunities and what that does for a region. We have a for that course and you've been placed, it's an expectation you're going out. At the Career Center, they're earned. Our students do not go out unless they are qualified for that position. So as a second-year student, almost 98% of the time, they have to have quality attendance. They have to be performing academically, and they can be pulled back at any time. Currently, we have 258 students that are outside of our walls working in work-based learning. We also have all of the spaces that are listed there at the bottom where workplace simulations happen in our center, where students are still performing the same services that they may if they were with an employer partner, but because of a number of variables, maybe the programming space, the equipment that we have, or a lack of transportation allows them to do that work there. So we probably have, between the handful of programs that are there at the bottom, we probably have another 150 or so students that are doing work-based learning right inside the Career Center. Why is that important? If you've looked at the new diploma requirements and specifically the SEALs, it's going to be huge for all of us that work in secondary education. So we remained mindful of that. And then we have our quality metrics. Well, how do our students do? I started off by talking about concentrator status and why concentrator status is so important. Yes, it checks that box for graduation, but it's the first thing that has to occur for us to be measured by the state and the federal government. The indicators that we are measured on start when a student hits concentrator status, okay? So once they've went through that full year of a program with a C average, now they're checking the boxes and all those 10 indicators and become part of that denominator. Concentrator status, as I focused on last year, our rate of concentration was 79%. That's a very high percent. The prior year, I think we were at 74%. We continue to be mindful of that. How do we get those students there? One of the challenges we have, like almost all educators right now, is getting students to school. Student attendance is a huge issue across the board. I think everybody in this room probably knows that. But when you look at the Career Center, for us, many of the labs are not going to be replicated anywhere else. So if they're missing those valuable hands-on skills and training, it's difficult for some of those students to attain the type of grades that they need. The second piece that we look at is how many of our first-year students are we getting back for a second year? This is important for a number of reasons. First and foremost, the benefits for programming at the Elkhart Area Career Center happen when a student's there for 2 years. They don't qualify for work-based learning until their second year. They're most likely not going to be able to finish a post-secondary credential unless they're there for 2 years. Many of our certifications happen during that second year. So the things that we're measured on by the state, if our students are only with us for a year and leave, we have no control on how we're measured because that student is now gone. It is vital that we continue to form strong relationships, give reasons for students to return. We've gotten very attentional with our messaging and the way that we work with our first-year students, because here's the other factor that we have. Some of our school partners will send a student to the Career Center for a year, train them up, then keep them on their campus that senior year to send them out work-based learning with the skills that we have provided. That saves them the tuition cost. They also then get their reimbursement dollars from the state of Indiana. So how do we fight that? The only way that we can fight that is the relationships that we build with the student and the family, right? And hope that those students and families advocate for being back at the Career Center for a second year. Next quality measure is dual credits. We see dual credits, obviously, at the post-secondary level, and a number of spaces at the Career Center is no different. And I think the thing that I'm going to be very honest and upfront with is we have a high number of dual credits that are earned. But how many of those dual credits are going into a finished credential, and how many of those dual credits are being taken forward for something else? It is a great thing to celebrate, and I will most certainly celebrate it. But at the end of the day, we need to do deeper dives into figuring out what is happening with those students that are earning them. Are they taking them forward? Next is the work-based learning. And there I indicate 75 hours. The reason that that's important is, once again, if we're looking at the state level, on your indicators, students have to eclipse 75 total hours to be counted. If they don't hit 75 hours, they don't count. If you look at the new diploma requirements and the seals, they're in 75-degree increments, or 75-hour increments. It's important that we recognize that and stay mindful. Industry certifications, 517 are those that are on a list that checks that box 3 for the state of Indiana. There's another 324 that are important to our partners. Examples of that would be in culinary, there's a Serve Safe certification that anywhere, and if you go anywhere in the public and eat, you will see that posted within that space. If you do not eat there. It is something that has to be in place. And so for us, the Serve Safe food handler certification is the one that we utilize. The state recognizes a Serve Safe manager. No offense, but not too many 18-year-olds are going to step out into a manager role, but they're more than likely going to step into a line cook. So the certification we want our students to have are ones that are going to get them immediately employable. We have a handful of them that are very similar, but they are something that our local industry partners recognize. And then the last piece there on the student outcomes is looking at our largest student organization, and that is Skills USA. We had our Skills USA regional we hosted back on February the 1st. I believe that day we had 90 plus students that were participating in 17 competitions. We won 11 of the 17 competitions. 54 of our students advanced. We had another 93 that did not have to participate in a regional event. So we have 147 that are qualified for state. A little smile on my face because the state competition is the last Friday and Saturday of spring break. I can't tell you exactly how many of the 147 that are going, but that's okay. Last year we had 13 that then won the state competition and advanced on to nationals, and that was down in Atlanta. It's always a good time. For me, the competitions are a great way for students to build confidence. That's the first thing that I recognize. The second thing is in a number of those competitions, there's scholarship dollars and sometimes even tools available. But I think the thing that hits the hardest is student experience. We had a group of kids down last year, obviously, and we're at the state fairgrounds. That's where the hub is. But there's a number of competitions that are in different areas of Indianapolis. And so I had two young men that needed to go to an auto competition. So they hopped in with me to go to a tech school. I can't recall which one it is. And as we're making our way there, I'm making small talk. And one of the students is a Northwood student, because I asked him, I said, hey, when's the last time you guys are down to Indianapolis? And I was there for the state football game. And then the young man in the back seat said, I've never been to Indianapolis. And I just paused and had to get my next thought together there. But things like that, those great experiences that those kids have an opportunity to go and see that I don't think they would have the chance to get to. And note, our students don't pay for any of that. All of that stuff is covered: transportation, lodging, food, it's all covered. This is why I handed out our program guide, because this is one of the things that I think has really helped us over the years, is getting very specific with our student messaging. If you open that up, you'll see that inside the very first cover, we have those three little slogans there: the choose your path, develop your skills, and make your mark. This is huge because the consistency of this messaging, I think, is what has helped us continue to get more and more students that are dialed in when they reach the Career Center. The choose your path piece, we have an inventory tool, a career inventory tool that is embedded in the application. We also use this messaging, whether it's at our open house, whether it's our student tours. We had our 6th grade students from Elkhart last year for the first time. We'll have them again this year. So how do we connect some of those pre-visit activities and get them used to that language? So as they're going through the following years and getting ready to schedule, they understand when they see these things. Note with student tours, we've had 15 instructional days that we've had to give up for tours. And it's a delicate balance. Like how do we ensure that students get there and see what we have to offer without turning it into the Ruth mirror? And so that is a delicate balance that we continue to work with. And then we have outreach camps. We had a summer camp last year that was an engineering camp. We will run it again this year. We started doing some work with Tolson Center with after school and looking to see if we can land there with the summer camp also. Then the develop your skills. That is really what we are talking about when we get students there, and how we help them understand what is it you're going to be able to take away from here. How do you brand yourself? And I think that is one of the most important things, is as we're talking with students and getting them in our spaces, it's not just the technical skills, but it's the career skills. It's the things that, regardless if you take this path forward, what do you take away from here? When I started at the Career Center, I used to believe that students were guaranteed to get one of two things when they came to the Career Center. Either they would find their passion and it would catapult them forward, or they would find that this is what they didn't want to do and they would make another choice. I'm wrong. All students that come there are going to develop career skills that will help them inform whatever that decision is and be successful in whatever they choose to do. And that is something I think we've been very dialed in with, continuing to make sure our students get that. And that leads to the last piece there, the make your mark. How do you ensure that whatever you walk away with from your time with us, that it is going to position you for moving forward? The networking in the field, we have all kinds of opportunities. Some of you have participated in some of those opportunities. We do the resume development. So we do all those things that are going to help a student regardless if that's the path they choose. And then I think this is what makes us really special. It's the community partnerships. When you look at the community partnerships, we have a number of different ways that we can engage with partners, whether it's our 3 large events that happen throughout the year, whether it's sponsorships. On the back cover there, you'll see all of the different companies that are sponsoring us this year. Note, all of those dollars are for student enrichment opportunities. When we talk about taking kids to Skills USA, how do we offset those costs? Through sponsorship dollars. There's other ways that we do that. We induct our students in the National Technical Honor Society. We cover all those costs through sponsorship dollars. Work-based learning, obviously, many of the employer partners that contact us are looking for talent, right? And that's okay. But we really want them to be more than just a talent agency. We want to have them involved. So you can see during last school year, we had over 364 organizations with us. The 3 large events that we hold each and every year, the Employability Skills Panel, which usually takes place the last week of September, kind of sets the stage for what it means to be at the Career Center. You can see the volume of partners that it takes to run that event. Mock interviews, if you don't have anything going on next Thursday and you want to see it in action, we have our mock interview day. Currently, we have 191 partners that are signed up. We've actually closed the window for getting partners. Because I think we have what we need. But it is a wonderful day. It is my favorite day of the school year because you can see so much growth in 15 minutes from students that are kind of waiting in the line in the ranks with their resume in hand, nervous as all get out to go sit in front of an adult and talk about themselves, and then come out the backside and see that confidence and ask their instructor to go back for a second round. It's awesome. And then lastly will be the career fair. We were able to hold the career fair over here at Elkhart High School last year. Great space for the event. We had 90 employer partners last year at that event. It'll be interesting to see, given the kind of job climate that we have out there, what that turnout will be. And so that is May 1st. So if you want to come by and see what it looks like. The sponsorships piece, talked a little bit about that. You can see those members on the back, total contributions for the year. Other things to celebrate if you haven't been over. Welcome anytime to take you through the surgical services area. As many of you know, we've talked about this a handful of times if you've been around from the time that we talked about it being a course. A year and a half later, we get the course rolling. And from January of 2021 until we cut that ribbon in August, it was a grind the entire way. And it was very beneficial, and it was worth every day that we put into it. The partnership there between Beacon, Goshen Health, Ivy Tech, the Community Foundation, the other partners that donate supplies endlessly, Unity, OSMC, St. Joe Medical, was able to get us the space that we needed, not only for our high school students, but for our adult students. Remember, these 2 areas of programming were not available locally until we brought them here. Families were driving an hour and 15 minutes one way to be able to access that programming. And that's not good enough for our community. So very thankful for that opportunity. Early childhood education and our partnership with Growing Kids want to celebrate this. We are one of 8 pilot schools that was asked to join an apprenticeship network for our students. And right now we have, I think we're at 8 apprentices. We're at 9, and we had a family situation for one of our apprentices and had to drop out. There's a lot of chatter about apprenticeships in Indiana and the model moving forward and how do we leverage that. And we'll talk about that in the next slide. But in this situation here with these kiddos, this made all the sense in the world. Students have an opportunity to obviously go out and get paid, but they have an opportunity to be supported all the way up through their bachelor's degree at no cost. Throughout this, they've been receiving gas cards to cover all of their back and forth, growing kids and their mentors have been able to receive a number of supplements and our supplemental materials, even some compensation. So a great partnership. I bring up Beacon Health again, just because we're seeing a lot take off with Beacon. Currently, we have 59 total students that are placed in Beacon facilities doing work-based learning. That's huge. Yes, it's a large network, but how do we continue to tap into that resource? And that's for me to get figured out. And then we see our quarterly newsletter. If you don't receive it, I'd love to know. If you haven't read it, shame on you. But it gets out there. A lot of people see it. We get a lot of great feedback from it. And it goes to everybody that we touch and beyond. So very thankful for Brenda Metcalf on our staff who pushes that out. Brenda does wonderful work. And then opportunities. There's always opportunities. First thing that I look at and I think about is as a career and tech ed center in Elkhart County for over 53 years, we have a lot of established roots. And for a very long time, we've spent almost all of that time on juniors and seniors in high school. I believe there's so much more that we can do. Schools are struggling with a couple of different initiatives that have moved forward and that are going to continue to move forward. First and foremost, the career exploration piece is a huge lift as we get more dialed in for those 4-year plans at the high school level. How can the Career Center position itself to be a support for the community in that 5th through 8th space? The next one is work-based learning. Work-based learning is a mess. I mean, that's just the reality of it. With the expectations that we see in the diploma requirements, it is going to be more and more difficult for employers to understand what kids are in front of them. And it's upon us to take a step forward and say, we can help identify for an entire region how we map that out. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but a student that goes through a pre-nursing program at Elkhart Area Career Center compared to a student that's going through a health sciences pathway in a high school are not the same students. Okay? So how do we help employer partners understand that we need work-based learning for all, but we need appropriate work-based learning that matches the skills that the student has? Can't be babysitters, right? Can't just have them sitting there taking spaces, but how do we make sure that we have proper placements? Graduation piece, we've talked a lot about that. I won't belabor that anymore. I see 3 minutes. So we want to make sure that we stay mindful as more and more information comes out about diploma requirements and more specifically the SEALs. How does the Career Center promote SEALs and how students can earn those through the Career Center? I'm a firm believer that the new diploma requirements are tailor fit for a career and tech ed center because we can check so many of those boxes. I put the city of Elkhart in here because this is something that I've been trying to continue to work with the city of Elkhart since the time I've been a director, looking for avenues to create partnerships. Whether it is looking at our services like law enforcement and fire, whether it's looking at our building trades program and how do we get into the city and start to develop housing within the city, as we all know that there's a shortage there. How do we create more partnerships and look for those opportunities? So we'll continue to explore those. And then the last piece I put on there, because I'm a fool if I don't put it on there, because it's all the chatter that we hear. What do we do with apprenticeships? How do we do it? Where does it make sense? This will never be the sole focus of the Elkhart Area Career Center, but for a number of our students, this makes a lot of sense. So how do we tap into those potentials? Questions or comments? Left you 2 full minutes or no minutes.
Great presentation.
Very good. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, as usual.
Thank you. Thanks.
That's behind schedule. We'll take 5 minutes. That'll take 5 minutes.
We'll go ahead and take a 5-minute break and then reconvene for our 7 o'clock board meeting.
Oh, I get cold, so.
That'd be
I don't
great.
like it. Yeah.
I opened mine, otherwise I'd give it to you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for coming out to our March 11th, 2025 Elkhart Community Schools School Board of Trustees meeting. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. Ivory, the Elkhart Promise.
Sure. Every student is known by name, challenged and supported by highly effective staff, and in partnership with the community will graduate career college ready and life ready.
Thank you. Our invitation to speak protocol. Everybody should have received one of these pamphlets on your chair. If you would like to speak, please fill out this portion of it and turn it into Dora, at which time I will call your name. Please come to the podium. You will have 3 minutes to speak on any agenda or non-agenda item. Any discussion involving charges or complaints against employees of the school district or students, please refrain from such charges, as this is not the venue for that. We have a policy and protocol in place for those issues. Dora, do we have any public comment? Thank you. When you come to the podium, please state your name and your relationship to the district. Chris Bartley?
Hi, Chris Bartley. Relationship to the district. Currently lead teacher for School of Business, special education, mild disabilities teacher at the 1012 campus. Resident of Elkhart, graduate of the district, parent of kids who graduated from the district. I don't know. So as I was sitting at home writing an IEP and watching NCIS and reading the board packet from Friday, I came across something that concerned me or made me question, made me get up out of the house and come out. Back of my paper scribbling, we have, there's a request in there for 3 consultants that are about $250,000 for a year. I was just hoping at this meeting that we'll get more detail as to what the purpose, focus of these consultants are going to be. And then the other thing is the resolution. As a special education teacher, I am very aware of how difficult it is to get some positions within content areas. Specifically, your resolution is for science and math, definitely areas in which we could use more certified, highly qualified people. I don't have a problem with a signing bonus. I am concerned about the continuing, and it appears to me in reading it, above and beyond the retention bonus. Because you're a math, you get 500,000 or 500. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be amazing if we got 500,000? 5,000, and then again for the science. My concern is building resentment within those of us who have been here through the amazing times and the struggling times, and I sometimes feel overlooked. And again, I don't have a problem with the signing bonus. I have a problem with the retention bonus. One more plug. Unified Track, defending 2024 state champions. We started our season practices started Monday. We have a pretty good turnout. So I hope to see all of you at least one of our home meets this year, which don't ask me, I don't know them off the top of my head, other than April 19th is our Elkhart invite, which also happens to be a day that the exceptional learners are putting on a disability fair on the inside of the high school at the same time. 0. Awesome.
Thank you. Next, we have Joshua Kinder.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm an elected board member with ETA and a 12-year math teacher for Pyramid Middle School. On the agenda for tonight's meeting is a resolution regarding supplemental pay for a select group of teachers at ECS. ETA is not very pleased with this plan. The school corporation seeks to use signing bonuses and stipends to address the ongoing shortage of teachers, but offers those bonuses only to math and science teachers. The truth is all teaching positions are hard to fill and hard to do, not just math and science jobs. All teaching positions are contracted for the same amount of time. Why should math time count more than social studies time or science more than language arts time? The truth is the teachers of ECS want to be united, not divided. We negotiate as a democratic collective because we expect to be paid according to a common contract. No secret add-ons, no special carve-outs, no playing favorites. We stand united, so treat us that way. ECS should strive to offer competitive pay for all teaching positions. The teacher shortage should not be played like a game of academic whack-a-mole. Why don't we lift all salaries in ECS? Why don't we put more value on the talent we already have? If math and science pay goes up, something has to come down, and it's bound to come down on the shoulders of our staff. Those bonuses would affect the bottom line for everybody. Don't make ECS teachers pay for a teacher shortage we had nothing to do with. For many years, ECS and ETA have negotiated in good faith for a fair common contract for all teaching staff. Each side brings wisdom, strategy, and great ideas to the table in the interest of our common goals. But ECS did not bring tonight's resolution to the discussion table, blindsiding its most essential workers. What ETA has tried to bring to the table is a plan to pay our 6th grade teachers for the overtime they're putting in this year to accomplish the transition to middle school. It's surprising to see this plan for signing bonuses when dozens of current teaching staff so clearly deserve some extra pay for extra work right now. ETA feels silenced, but we know our voice matters. If our work brings value to the corporation, why isn't our voice valued this time? At the beginning of this school year, Dr. Huff gave us a new motto: start right now. If the board moves forward with this resolution, what exactly are we starting right now in Elkhart? We would be starting to single out some teaching jobs as more valuable than others, starting to divide school staff against itself, starting to sow seeds of resentment that will mature into conflict, bitterness, and resignation. Let's table the thing and start collaborating right now so we can move forward to the best benefit of ECS stakeholders. Thank you.
Melissa Gross.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Gross. I am a special education teacher at Westside Middle School. I came out to speak with you about a year or so ago, and I said that the Elkhart promise had been repeatedly broken for my students. So I'm here tonight to give you an update, some examples of things that are going on, and many suggestions. First, I'm proposing that we change our district motto. Obviously, our current motto is start right now. Unofficially, since I've been an employee here, it's been ready, fire, aim. And I think that that's about right. Case in point is what we're doing in the middle school level with testing. When the iLearn checkpoints replaced NWEA, we were told our students needed to do 3 checkpoints a year, and then they would take the iLearn test in April. Then it became that some kids needed to do checkpoint 1, opportunity 2. Then all of the kids needed to do both opportunities of checkpoints 2 and 3. At Westside, checkpoint 3 is tomorrow and Thursday, and that comes directly on the heels of our language arts performance assessment, which we've been doing since Monday. This is in addition to the common formative assessments and common summative assessments that our students have to do. Currently, a middle school student will spend 60 out of 180 days doing some sort of standardized test. That is 1/3 of their school year, ladies and gentlemen. Remember the episode of I Love Lucy, where Lucy and Ethel were working in the candy factory? And everybody was going well, and they were taking their little chocolates off the conveyor belt and putting them into the boxes. And then the crazy supervisor lady came out and said, "Speed it up, boys." Well, you know, what did Lucy and Ethel start doing after that? They didn't get their little candies into the boxes anymore because they couldn't keep up. All right, they stuffed the chocolates into their shirts and under their hats. And that's how teaching in a middle school feels right now. We're trying so hard to do our jobs well, but not all of our kids can be little chocolates that fit neatly into boxes. And we don't have shirts and hats big enough to put all of the ones who miss the boxes entirely. Secondly, we fired before we took aim with programming and materials. IXL was used by both math and language arts teachers for bell work and to reinforce contents and skills that our students personally needed repeated, but it was taken away from us at the beginning of the year. Finally, just last week, language arts teachers were introduced to Lexia, which is a program that's similar to IXL. Why did it take us 3/4 of the year to get a replacement program? I also wonder when we're going to have something for our math department, because the program that we've got right now is kind of like having a concept of a curriculum, but it leaves out several of the standards that our state wants us to address. In the end, no matter what teachers do, our students are going to struggle to show growth if we have to continually piece together other resources. I was going to talk about hiring and the board packet, but I'll skip that for now. And yes, I know I'm over time, but I took a night off from my HSE class, and so I'm going to stand here until I'm finished. I promise I'll be brief.
Gross, please, you are over time, and we have to stick to the 3 minutes.
I'll be brief, I promise, okay? Something that should go a long way toward filling positions and retaining the staff that we have would be improving professional courtesy and teacher autonomy. There is a recent suggestion that teachers should implement bell work and exit tickets that they were given by upper level administration. My first question is, who's going to grade these things? Second question is, my bell work and my exit slips are customized to what my kids need. If somebody is coming from higher up.
Ms. Gross, could you please finish up?
Okay, I apologize.
Next, we have a moment of pride. Echo presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Huff, President Scott, School Board of Trustees. I am Carrie Anderson, proud executive principal of Elkhart High School, and I am incredibly proud to introduce 3 of our students that embody, we talk about our arts programs, our athletic programs, and most importantly, our academic programs. And we are here to listen to 3 of our outstanding seniors, Ange Mehta, Brennan Whitcar, and Ben Miller tonight to make a presentation, and they hope to partner with Elkhart Community Schools. So kids, good luck. The floor is yours.
I would just like to start and thank all of you for listening to us today. I'm here to introduce a little bit, but I'll introduce myself. My name is Brennan Whitcar. I'm a senior here, 3-sport athlete, participate in NHS and student government.
My name is Ben Miller. I do 2 sports, and I'm also in student government and NHS.
My name is Angi Mehta. I'm in a lot of music activities, and I do NHS, student government, and SSAC.
I would like to start with the inspiration we have for this club we like to create, nonprofit we like to create, called ECHO, which stands for Elkhart Community Humanitarian Organization. One day when I was at my internship program, my coworkers was mentioning how he was packing boxes to help with Hurricane Helene survivors. And on top of that, my grandma actually lives in Florida half the year, and she had experienced kind of the hardships.
Good. I figure there may be some folks behind the scenes that were assisting, because if not, having the nonprofit bylaws and articles you just handed to us, I was pretty impressed with the ability. So thank you guys for they did do that. Well, very good. Well, very good. Oh, this is great, guys. This is great. Are there any other questions?
Well, just thank you, because it's an example to, I love that the freshman division is involved. That's so important to them, because they tend to feel as if they're left out. And plus, like, you need to grow this community after you're gone. But having young, like, disciples or servants in our community that show the way to what we need our youth to be doing as they become men and women in the world. It is by far, I applaud you guys so much, and for your involvement too. I mean, like, you know, like, no offense, but sometimes people kind of go a little hard on athletes. Like, do they have the heart of a servant? Do they have this? Are they just in their sports? Or what is happening here? And you guys as young men and a young woman are going to set a fire in Elkhart Community Schools, something that our students need to know that they have the ability to do. So, you know, thank you. I really think this is wonderful, and I support you wholeheartedly, and will support anything I can to help you guys grow. Yeah, thanks. I'm really proud of you guys.
Quick question, maybe you guys said this. How long has this club been in existence?
So we had this idea about maybe 5 months ago. Yeah. And so
You guys did this in 5 months?
5 months.
Right,
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so we made the club within kind of the first month, and we've really just been waiting to get in front of the board so we can get permissions, we can get everything officially going.
Well, I just asked a question because I think Troy said it right. I mean, to see a problem and solve for that problem and then come up with bylaws to kind of help with that, it's pretty impressive. So
Thank you.
You had mentioned local companies working hand in hand with you guys. Do you already have commitments from local companies that are going to participate?
We don't have commitments yet, but I mean, there's definitely, I think there's opportunity. For example, the company that we internship does a lot of community involvement, and I think they would be willing to help in something like this.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah.
Great job, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chasing that guy down.
Next on the agenda, we have board member recognition. Dr. Huff.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, community. Last time we were here, we had an opportunity to recognize the work of our outstanding board members for all that they do for our community and what they do for children, and really leading in difficult times. We know education space can be not only a place where our kids that we just left this presentation or see a problem, feel a need, it wouldn't happen without your support and the things that you do behind the scenes. Also, you're on the front lines. You have to make difficult decisions in the face that you have to own, not just for today, you have to own for the rest of time. So I know that you don't take these positions and these roles lightly. But I also know that if I ever go and not publicly recognize my bromance with Mr. Weaver, I would hear about it forever. Mr. Weaver was not able to join us at the last recognition, but Mr. Weaver has been an outstanding advocate for myself, a pretty firm support, but also most importantly, a great member to this board for a very long time. So this evening, I would just like to take a moment to recognize not only Mr. Weaver for the things that he does as our current board vice president and for a longstanding board member. There also is someone else who is no longer with us on the board, but will always be with us in spirit and heart, and a huge advocate for Elkhart Community Schools. Don't let the beard fool you. This gentleman is oh, he's back there. He's listening. This gentleman back here is full of life, full of energy, but most importantly, is a servant, not just at heart, but in servant in hands. He has opened his thoughts, his time, and his energy to me in ways I'll never be able to repay. Mr. Blyler, in my short time getting to know him, I couldn't ask for a better man to get to know in this role, in this seat. So without any further ado, I would just like to take a couple moments to formally recognize both of you for the work that you've done for Elkhart Community Schools in your time as board members. And we just have a little bitty token to give to you. So please come on down and join us, Mr. Weaver and Mr. Blyler.
No, you don't.
Welcome back, Jeff. You're never going away. Jeff, you're like Mr. Mao. We're never getting rid of you.
He's a good mentor to have. So.
Yeah.
I had other concerns about it.
Okay,
That's fine.
I'm gonna second it. Yeah, I know, I'm gonna second it.
In my defense, they called a retreat, and they didn't tell me where it was at, so I went to Mexico instead. And so anyhow, but I did have a great time, and thank you everybody so much for the recognition. I appreciate that very much.
We got many videos, karaoke, a couple other things, great pictures. While we were slaving away. Nice.
Well, just in case you mentioned that, Neil Diamond's Sweet Caroline was the one on tap because everybody in the world knows that one. All right. So you really couldn't hear me singing too much, but everybody, a lot of Canadians down there. So and they weren't happy with us either, by the way.
Okay, be quiet. All right, stop it.
Okay, well, we're
Delete
just
that,
going to move
Jake.
right along with the agenda tonight. Next on the agenda, we have the Excellence of Elkhart. Ms. Wagler, podium is yours.
All right. Thank you, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff, and the community. I am always surprised, and yet I don't know why, but we have such outstanding students. And every board meeting when they come and they present, they just keep blowing me away with their entrepreneurship and their test scores. And I get a chance tonight to be able to highlight some more of our students broader across the district. So last week, Mary Daly students, oops, didn't go. There we go. Mary Daly students recently explored land and water through an exciting unit from Science Kits, thanks to our partnership with Ethos. Students created their own worlds, shaping, labeling, identifying the landforms, And their projects turned out amazing, showcasing hands-on learning and action. And they even got to pour water over their landforms to see how water travels over land. Elkhart High School interns at Elkhart General Hospital, through our partnership with Beacon Health Systems, are gaining hands-on experience in the medical field. These students, pictured here, are planning to pursue nursing and biology at IUSB, Kentucky, IU Bloomington, and Ball State. And we're grateful once again for our partnership with the hospital. After a great season with the Elkhart High School speech and debate team, 2 students made it all the way to state. Ian Kelly and Miles Ipira both competed in the category of radio broadcasting. Just one more example of our students exemplifying the excellence of Elkhart. And students in all of our elementary schools worked hard on their iRead exams, with Mary Fieser elementary teachers providing outstanding support, leading up to what they call Show What You Know Day. Staff and students created a celebratory atmosphere encouraging their 2nd and 3rd graders as they showcased their reading skills. In observance with Mental Health Awareness Week, students at the freshman division wore red and shared encouragement by writing inspirational messages on heart-shaped notes. Their thoughtful words help promote positivity and support within the community. And by way of the arts, we had 4 middle school students from Northside and Westside who earned a spot in the Indiana All-Honor Choir. They were selected by statewide audition to perform with the top middle school singers from throughout the entire state of Indiana. The arts bring life across the district, blending creativity with education. And at Bristol, 2nd graders combined research and artistry by creating President's Day puppets, which they shared with 1st graders. As they presented the puppets, they also shared the facts that they learned about each of the presidents that they studied, making history both engaging and interactive. And in athletics, congratulations to Gabe Kazmirchik. I don't know if that's how you say his name, who finished 8th. Well, is it close?
Yeah.
I know we have a lot of Polish in Elkhart, so who finished 8th in the state in the 100 fly. Also, congratulations to high school gymnast Aubrey Fruth on being named the ICGSA Academic All-State. And we have a lot going on leading up to spring break. We again have FAFSA assistance. We have some music coming up with All-State Band and the musical. The AFJROTC Military Ball is also coming up. And our winter sports program, March 17th. Also by way of arts, a lot of arts going on. The Winter Guard and Percussion Showcase is March 20th. So come out and that's their community night. So come out and recognize them as well. And as always, please continue to follow our social media for up-to-date happenings throughout the district. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron. Next, we have the consent items. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Do I have any questions or comments from the board?
Yes, we have, with a total donation of $1,050.57 to the Elkhart High School Dance Marathon. We had 3 community donors, Garrett and Brandy Brubaker, HF Restaurants LLC, and Welsh Packaging Group, that helped fund that and make that a very great success. And then you just heard Aaron talk about the Brain Change to Mind and the mental health awareness notes of encouragement. Throughout the year, we receive all of these donations, and we received one from Crossroads Community Church of the Nazarene for $1,200. So for a total of $2,250.57, our students benefited once again from our great community outreach.
Mullins? Any other comments from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Passes unanimously. Next on the agenda, we have new business. Mr. Thorne, we have Board Policy 8210, school calendar.
Thank you, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff. Tonight, the administration is presenting for preliminary consideration proposed revisions to the district's policy governing the creation of our school calendar. The proposed revisions reflect the authority granted to school districts to seek a 1003 waiver from the Indiana Department of Education under authority granted to IDOE pursuant to IC 2032-6. As you might recall, the school district is currently operating under a 1003 waiver granted by IDOE early in calendar year 2024. Again, bringing this to you for preliminary consideration tonight.
Thank you. Next, we have the resolution.
Thank you. Tonight, the administration is seeking approval of a proposed resolution authorizing the payment of supplemental pay to teachers holding certification in math or science in grades 7 through 12. As you might have observed during Ms. Lozano's presentation, we continue to have challenges in terms of filling these specific positions throughout our secondary schools. As you're well aware, the job market for such positions is extremely competitive. Upon approval of this proposed resolution, the superintendent will be authorized to pay a signing bonus of up to $5,000 and also will be authorized to pay annual retention incentives of $2,500 to these individuals as well as our current teachers holding such certifications. I might also add that our current master contract also includes retention payments for teachers. So this is supplemental to those retention payments. We are seeking your approval of this resolution tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Thorne. Based on some of the comments we've heard here tonight and some questions internally, I'd like to have a motion to table this resolution to give some time to get some questions answered and discussions to be had. I'd like to table this till the first board meeting after spring break. I do not know the date on that.
22nd.
22nd?
Is it the 22nd?
Yes.
So it would be April 22nd.
April 22nd.
April 22nd.
So to move.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Thorne. Next, we have Dr. Huff.
Hey, thank you, President Scott, members of the board, community. Want to give a huge shout out to our elementary principals, teaching staff, as they've just got done conducting, they're still conducting iRead with our amazing young folk in our second and third grade down there and some other students. Obviously, information is embargo, but I really expect in a few months to give an amazing report to our community. Just looking at some preliminary numbers, Elkhart is definitely on our way. We should be very proud in those buildings. I expect to see a lot of huge growth. Looking at the preliminary data, I think you'll be very pleased here too. I'm kind of being coy with that, but I'm very excited on the inside. I want to give a thanks to the leadership of Mrs. Kripe, Dr. Roush, and all our elementary principals for all that they've done. It has been wonderful to dive in to look at that data. We had administrators up at 6 a.m. on Saturday looking at their iRead data, and they're very pleased. The kids in the classroom have been working their little tails off, and it shows up on this assessment. So I just want to say thank you, and I look forward to giving a very formal report to the board. I think you'll be very pleased about our results this year. Is that correct, Mrs. Kripe? Yes, I'm very pleased too.
I would like to play poker with you.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because I said I was being coy. Additionally, I would like to give a huge shout out to high school. Our advanced jazz band and Gold Rush vocal band made it to the state finals. This is quite an accomplishment. Only 9 jazz band and 8 vocal bands are selected for state finals each year. They don't know the performance time, but I know it is Friday, March 21st. Again, Elkhart is shining in the area of the arts with our long history. Ms. Oppenheim, who leads the Arts and Communication Division, shared that today excitedly. And there's another piece of information now. I really can't share that, but we do have a state finalist as one of the top 40 students in the state of Indiana, recognized by a very prestigious institution. Yeah, what's this poker face saying? You don't know. So we can't release that information until April 25th. We received the news today that one of our very own is going to be recognized statewide as one of the top 40 students in the state of Indiana. A very prestigious academic honor to receive for their dedication, for their work, and most importantly, for being an outstanding student in the classroom. So when I say that our students are at the center of everything that we do is to create outstanding experience for them, I think Elkhart leads that every single day. And thank you, teachers, for pouring into these students. And then lastly, I want to just thank our administration team for all the hard work that they are doing, along with sides with our teachers and our board here. A lot of work. I don't want to say a lot of work. I keep saying the word work. It is a very difficult time in education. When I say difficult time, is there's something new that's coming out every day from either the state house or federal level, and there's a price to pay to keep your head cool when the rest of the world turns up. So I really want to say that I've been receiving wise counsel from those who've been in the seats a lot longer than I am around the state, but locally too. So I just want to say thank you for continuing to fight the good fight for children and for staff. You do it every single day. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a huge kudos to our safety and security team and for our administrators at the high school level. This week, we had another situation at the high school that dealt with a student who clearly was in need, some support. But it lets me know that our procedures work. A kid saw something and he said something and he went to a trusted adult. That's what we want when we send our kids to school. We want them to trust the adults who are there. And the situation was handled professionally and handled quickly. I also want to talk directly to the parents who are watching. I know that all the 100,000 of you who are watching this evening, it's important that we take care of our weapons at home. Please make sure things are locked in drawers. Please make sure that a conversation with your child understand that these things are not to be brought to schools, that these are for protection for your home. If there's an issue that's occurring at school, we have multiple ways that you can contact the school, Sprigio, the teacher, the administrator, anything. But I want to say that it is important that we start having these conversations at home. And then at school, if things are brought to school, there are severe consequences up to expulsion, and that's just the beginning. So I don't take these incidents lightly. Our number one job is for our kids to come to school and then to make it back home to you. So if you can help us out by having conversations with your children, that would be great. Just like we're having conversations here at school about making sure that kids are play nice in the sandbox, so to speak. But again, thank you for all that you do. I know there's a longer update than normal, but again, I think it's so important that we understand that kids have access to more of the world than what they probably should have. And so it's up to us and it's incumbent on us to make sure that they don't have access to things they shouldn't. So I just want to say thanks for my time tonight. And it was under 3 minutes, Mr. Scott. So I am good, and I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Huff.
No problem.
Anything from the board this evening?
Yeah, I have a comment. It's interesting, and we have buildings and stuff like that, and they're really just buildings until you fill them with people and stuff like that. A week ago Thursday, the NIAA had their national swim meet down at the aquatic center and stuff like that. The place was completely filled with, college age kids and their parents and stuff like that. They had people from Florida, California, Nebraska, Kansas, and Minnesota. And did I get that right?
No, you did not.
Hey, I thought the kid was from a foreign country. I said, my goodness. It's like, geez, that's Minnesota. And So anyhow, but I mean, the noise, the activity, and just talking to parents down there, who had been there before and stuff like that, they love that facility. They said that facility is second to none anywhere they go in any collegiate sports out here. So we should be very proud of ourselves as Elkhart Community Schools, as having been able to partner with the community and Beacon Health Systems to put that facility together. So anyhow, kudos to everybody in this room and our entire organization for making that happen. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.